Howdy folks, today we'll be covering an incredibly important monster that every Toku enthusiast, Kamen Rider fan or otherwise, should know and love, but who has unfortunately fallen deep into obscurity. Dogumaroguma is the name of this highly significant Kaijin. Name ring a bell? No? Hopefully this class will remedy that, and will demonstrate to you all how significant this apparently inconsequential and forgettable little beast actually is. Okay, so here's our Kaijin of interest. At first glance, there's nothing about him that screams, "I am an extremely notable monster." But he does have kind of a neat design. Looks sort of like Twintail from the Ultraman series with his mouth on the ground like that. When watching the 10th episode of Kamen Rider Black RX, which is Dogumaroguma's only appearance, I observed that this suit looked like it was being operated by an actor sitting on the ground, which is certainly rather unique. I couldn't confirm that, since I really couldn't find any behind-the-scenes info on this guy, not even concept art. But even if that is how Dogumaroguma was operated, that's not what makes him so important. So let's move on. The one and only behind-the-scenes fact I could ascertain about Dogumaroguma is that his voice was provided by Toku Nishio. Gotta love that first name, huh? Nishio had a long history of providing voices for tokusatsu characters, especially in the Super Sentai and Metal Hero series. He voiced the majority of the monsters in Goggle 5 and Dynaman, a bunch in Space Sheriff Gavan and Sherivan, and even the very first Super Sentai monster, Gold Mask. He'd also done a few voices from the original Kamen Rider Black series, and already had a different Black RX monster under his belt. He would go on to portray 5 Black RX characters in total. So, yep, nothing unusual about Dogumaroguma's voice actor, so that can't be why he's so important. It'd seem that the best way to determine what's so special about this guy is to jump into the Black RX series to see what he was up to. Let's do that. A depressed Shigeru Sahara spotted oozing green slime running down a tree, which morphed into a strange flying blob of light, and then again into the hideous Dogumaroguma. The Kaijin announced his name and then sprayed the boy with mist, which left him knocked out and covered with slime. Suddenly, another blob of light burst forth and transformed into an exact clone of Shigeru. The real Shigeru wondered if he'd dreamed it all, but later encountered his clone, who was better than him at everything. Shigeru decided to temporarily let his clone stand in for him, but was very confused who this kid was. This was all part of the Crisis Empire's plot to destroy Kotaro Minami, aka Black RX, by making evil clones of all his friends to disorient him. Exactly why, I'm not sure, but Dogumaroguma didn't capture the real Shigeru at first, and let him watch what his clone could do. But he did eventually reappear and capture the child, and the clone continued to act as him, fooling everyone, except his sister, who alerted Kotaro that something was afoot. Kotaro watched as the clone lured Shigeru's 2 friends straight to Dogumaroguma, but was too late to prevent the Kaijin from taking control of them. He and his girlfriend, Reiko, fought the clone and the brainwashed kids. Dogumaroguma tried to seize the opportunity and hit Kotaro with his mist, but Black RX just barely escaped. The monster then made off with the kids and Reiko. It wasn't long before a Reiko clone appeared, but Kotaro was wise to her and followed her straight to Dogumaroguma. The moment he became Black RX, all of the Kaijin's clones disintegrated as a result of his Kingstone, but the monster was still a force to be reckoned with, and took hold of RX's leg with his mouth. RX freed himself by calling his rider on, and the monster turned back into a blob of light and sped into a building, where Kotaro's friends were being held. The Kaijin tried to finish off his 4 prisoners, but RX instead finished him with his Revel Cane. The Kaijin blew up, and... that was it? What was so important about any of that? I mean, that was a good, though slightly typical Kamen Rider story, and Dogumaroguma was a kind of cool monster of the week, but nothing to write home about, right? We must be missing something. Oh right, we are! Kamen Rider Black RX was adapted into Masked Rider by the company Saban, the force behind making Super Sentai into Power Rangers. The series didn't catch on like Power Rangers did. I wonder why. And only 1 season was produced, but Dogumaroguma managed to squeeze his way into that 1 season, now going by the name Slimeasect. In this show, Dex's grandma was changed into a statue and placed as bait to lure him to Slimeasect. He fought the monster as Masked Rider, and the fight went basically exactly the same, because it was all stock footage. You could even briefly see Kotaro's friends in the background inside the building. This brief battle ended with Masked Rider finishing off Slimeasect. Yeah, I really don't see what was incredibly important about any of that. Okay, I've held this secret for long enough. Here's a clue as to what makes Dogumaroguma so special. His debut episode, the 10th episode of Kamen Rider Black RX, came out on December 25th, 1988. Aha, I bet you're thinking. This guy is special for being a Christmas Kaijin, and the Toku Professor is bringing it up because Christmas is nearly here. Well, no, there's actually nothing that special about Toku monsters debuting on Christmas. All these monsters had already done so. So here's another clue. If Dogumaroguma had first appeared the Christmas the year before, in 1987, he wouldn't be important in this way anymore. If he'd first debuted on TV a month or even a few weeks earlier, he wouldn't be important. So what's so critical about December 25th, 1988? Well, aside from being Christmas Day, nothing. But the thing that makes Dogumaroguma so important was in fact a date that occurred just 13 days after that Christmas. For on January 7th, 1989, Emperor Hirohito of Japan died of cancer, bringing the Showa era of Japanese history to a close. And do you know what that makes Dogumaroguma? That's right. This Kaijin was the very last Showa monster from any major Toku show. Wow. The golden era of monsters that began in 1954 with Godzilla had drawn to a close. In this span of time, nearly all of Japan's most memorable and popular monsters and the heroes that battled them had been created. It all began with Toho's Godzilla and ended with Toei's Dogumaroguma. And that is why this forgotten Kaijin is so important. You won't find any toys of this guy, or ever see him again in a show. You probably won't even hear anyone ever mention him again when this class is over. But do the Toku world a favor, and try to keep the legacy of Dogumaroguma alive. This has been the Toku Professor, signing. Wait, don't forget to like and subscribe. What? Who are you? Why, the Toku Professor, of course. Get out of my classroom. Wait, for real? What does that make me? Am I just one of Dogumaroguma's clones who was trying to prop up his master? Don't ask me, imposter. Now get out of here so I can work on my History of Gamora script.